Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Unfound Podcast channel on YouTube. I am Unfound's host, Ed Densel. I hope everyone is doing fantastic. Before I get started and I talk about the important locations for the disappearance of Paul Sanders, I hope you will give this video a thumbs up. If you are not yet a subscriber to this channel, please consider doing so. And when you become a subscriber, please hit that little bell button so that when we upload videos such as this one, or when the Unfound live show happens on Wednesday nights, you will be alerted immediately. I would ask that you also consider contributing to Unfound, becoming a supporter at Patreon. Patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. So this is a video for the disappearance of Paul Sanders. This is an episode that came out on January 21st, 2022. Of course, his disappearance is now over 20 years old. On the screen, you see the three major locations for his disappearance, the ones that were talked about in the episode with his sister Jessica. We have up here at the top of the screen, we have Mesa, Arizona, which is where Paul lived with his father and his father's fiancée and her daughter, up here in Mesa, an area that I am very familiar with. I used to go down to the Mesa area for work for about 4 years, like 2005 to 2009, something like that, when I lived in Las Vegas. Down here we have Tucson, and then over here to the east we have the Santa Catalina Mountains, specifically Reddington Road, and I'll zoom in on that a little later. I think first what you have to understand is the distance between these locations. Now, you will see right there, 2 hours and 54 minutes to go from Mesa down to Tucson and then over to that area where Paul's truck was eventually found. It's not close. So the big question is whether, of course, you're going to have a chance to think about this. Was it Paul driving the truck? Was it somebody else driving the truck? If it was Paul, why did he run? We can maybe understand why, if it wasn't Paul, why somebody might want to take off, especially if something happened to Paul and the truck was stolen, something like that. We can understand somebody running. Somewhat unclear as to why Paul might have run. We just don't know what might have been in the truck at the time. There's a lot of question marks, but it certainly makes more sense for a stranger driving Paul's truck to run than it does for Paul in his own truck to take off. So we still don't know what Paul or his truck or somebody else was doing in his truck way down here in Tucson. Yes, it's 254 minutes over to here, but Mesa to Tucson, 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 20 minutes, something like that. Not close. And as you heard Jessica say in the interview, nobody has really said in the last 20 years why Paul would have been down there. He wasn't known to drive down there. He wasn't known to have known anybody down there. Nobody has come forward to say, oh yeah, Paul used to come down and see me. Nothing like that. So it's a big question mark. And I guess in Arizona, we forget, I think when people think of Arizona, you think like Phoenix, which is of course up here. Maybe you forget about Tucson, and we forget how close Tucson is to the Arizona-Mexico border. I've actually been to Tucson. I actually worked on a stunt show south of Tucson within miles of the Mexico border back in the year 2000. But so what might be a really good question, maybe this is something that Jessica can look into, and this is how you should analyze disappearances such as this one, where we're just not quite sure what was going on. Where exactly was his truck pulled over, and in what direction was it going? And allow me to maybe zoom in on that a little bit more now, because I want to talk about that. So we'll zoom into this specific area. The truck, I can't say Paul, the truck was pulled over in Tucson and ended up a day later over in this general location. What direction was the truck going? Was it on a highway, for example, the 10, which is right here? Was it on the highway, seemingly headed back in the direction of Mesa? Or was it going away from Mesa? Was it on a surface street? I think it was on a highway. But what direction did it look like it was going? Because if it was going away from Mesa, then it might mean whoever was in the truck was going somewhere. On the other hand, if the truck was going back toward Mesa, then maybe it makes more sense that Paul actually was driving the truck and was going home after doing something down here, although we're still not sure what that might have been. So then we move on to how did the truck get over here? You can see it's not close, and I'm going to take away Mesa out of the equation here so we can just do a time and distance from Tucson to the general area of Reddington Road over there. And I'll zoom back in. So, hour and 11 minutes. Now we have to think about some things. Surely by the time, whether it was Paul or somebody else, surely by the time the driver was going in this direction, he would have known, or she would have known, that the police were not behind anymore. This person was not being chased, and it is some weird fluke that it was a rainstorm that called off the chase. Having rain in Arizona to the point that a chase would be called off would be as rare as it happening in Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, it maybe rains 15 times a year, maybe. And surely, most of the time, not hard enough to stop a police chase. But surely that person would have known at some point that there was no police behind, and the person would have slowed down or turned around or something. Instead, the vehicle ended up an hour, as it says here, an hour and 11 minutes away. And like I said, I just kind of guessed. This is up in the Santa Catalina Mountains, and this blue line, and just to give you a little better background, we'll go to a satellite view now. I don't specifically know that this is the point, but this blue line right here is Reddington Road right here. And it goes up through these mountains, and I'll just keep zooming out. I mean, it's pretty desolate, as you would expect, in most directions from Phoenix, much like Las Vegas. You get outside of Las Vegas, and there's not much there. Same way with Phoenix. So the question is, why would a person drive up into these mountains and then wreck this truck? Was the person driving so fast and lost control? We can see that this road, if we were just to go maybe a little more to this way and zoom out a little bit, it's not straight. You get up into these mountains going up, 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 up. Could have lost control, certainly. What I think we also can say is, being that this landowner up in this area somewhere found the truck fairly quickly, it does not sound to me like the truck, somebody was trying to hide the truck, like drove off into the desert in one of these mountains on where there is no trail and just pushed it over a cliff, for example. That doesn't sound like it either. So it sounds like the truck was wrecked, maybe due to somebody losing control. We just don't know. But truck was certainly not hidden. And so I think that is something, as you're listening to the episode, whether you've listened to it already, or you're going to listen to it again, or you're going to listen to it, that's something that you should be thinking about, that we have this chase that happens way over here in Tucson. Somehow the truck, a day later, so seemingly you would think that it went over there maybe immediately, maybe not. But I think what I'm saying here is, if somebody else was in the truck, does it not make sense that they would dump it in an area maybe where it wouldn't be found, or in an area where it wouldn't be found immediately? Maybe just park it in a Walmart parking lot. You could park there for days. Or go Anywhere where there's a parking garage. Now, there might be video, but maybe you can cover up your face or something. Somewhere where the truck would not be found for a long time. Instead, it was found the next day, even though it was seemingly out here in the middle of nowhere. But it sounds it was in plain sight, even though it was wrecked. So very interesting. As I stated in the episode, we've had a couple other disappearances where police chases were involved. Molly Miller and Colt Haynes, Brennan Samoki. But this is the first one where we're just not sure who was getting chased. And of course, if you come to the conclusion that it wasn't Paul in the truck, then Paul could have disappeared anywhere. He could have disappeared in Tucson. He could have disappeared up where he is from in Mesa, or completely somewhere different. But in analyzing what went on that day of the chase and where the truck was found, maybe you can wade through all of that and come to your own solid conclusion. So those are the locations, some reasoning on my part, some analysis on my part, and what we also don't have is some ping information. Was the phone off? We don't know if Paul's phone ever pinged over here. We just don't know that, and I'm hoping that Jessica, we talked about doing the FOIA, maybe that information, she can get it, and it will be in there. That would certainly prove to be interesting. If his phone did ping in Tucson, did it ping anywhere else? Did it ever ping out here? Be certainly something good to know. That's all I have for this map analysis. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.